Episode 6 is setting up a moment that could completely turn Belly's world upside down. The kind of moment where the past you've tried to bury suddenly shows up in front of you, forcing you to decide whether to protect your heart or risk it all again, and with tensions between Conrad, Jeremiah, and Belly boiling under the surface. This episode isn't just about love, it's about the quiet, dangerous kind of heartbreak that sneaks in when you're not looking. We've seen Belly tried to hold it all together before, but episode 6 feels different. From the very first moments, you can sense that she's walking a fine line between two versions of herself. The one who's promised a future to Jeremiah, and the one who can't seem to let go of Conrad no matter how hard she tries. It's not always in the words she says, sometimes it's in the way her eyes linger too long, or how her smile fades just a little too quickly. And in this episode, those tiny cracks start to spread. What makes this episode hit so hard is how it keeps pulling Belly into directions. Jeremiah is doing his best to make things perfect for her, or at least that's what it looks like. On the surface, he's talking about plans, making promises, giving her moments that should feel like a dream, but there's this undercurrent. This quiet doubt that Belly can't shake. It's not that Jeremiah isn't trying, it's that someone else seems to know her in a way he just can't. And that someone else is standing right there. Conrad has always been that person. The one who doesn't need her to explain herself, the one who notices when she's about to break, even before she does. And in episode 6, his presence is heavier than ever. He's not pushing, not trying to get in the middle, at least not out loud, but every choice he makes seems to pull Belly closer, without either of them fully admitting it. The way he shows up when she least expects it, the way he remembers little details she's forgotten about herself. It's both comforting and dangerous. And here's where it gets tricky. The more Conrad quietly steps in, the more Jeremiah unintentionally steps back. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's not watching closely enough. There's a scene where Belly needs someone to help her through a small but stressful moment. And before Jeremiah can even react, Conrad is already there. It's the same story we've seen before, but now it feels sharper, more urgent. Because this time, there's something Belly hasn't told either of them. Something that could change the way both brothers see her. That secret sits like a shadow over every interaction. Every laugh feels like it might turn into a confession. Every moment of silence feels like it might explode into something she can't take back. And the worst part, Belly isn't even sure what she wants anymore. She thought choosing Jeremiah meant leaving all the what-ifs behind. But Conrad's quiet loyalty keeps forcing her to look back. And when you keep looking back, it's only a matter of time before you trip over what's right in front of you. By the end of this first part of the episode, you can feel that something big is coming. A conversation that can't be avoided, a choice that won't be easy. And whether Belly is ready for it or not, that choice is going to pull her deeper into the one place she's been trying to escape. The space between the two Fisher brothers, where love feels both impossible and inevitable. If there's one thing this episode makes crystal clear, it's that nothing stays hidden forever. Belly might think she's playing it safe by keeping her thoughts to herself, but you can see the way her guard slips when Conrad is around. It's in the way she lets her shoulders drop when he's near, like she can finally breathe, even if she doesn't want to admit why. And the truth is, Conrad notices everything. He always has. It's that quiet, careful attention that's been breaking him apart since the day she chose Jeremiah. But here's the twist. Conrad isn't just lingering in the background this time. There's a shift in him, subtle but impossible to ignore. He's stopped pretending that it doesn't matter. You can see it in how he holds her gaze for just a beat too long. In the way his voice softens when he says her name. It's not about grand gestures, it's about the little things that Jeremiah never seems to notice. The small ways Conrad makes sure she feels seen, and those moments, they're starting to get to Belly, whether she wants them to or not. Jeremiah, on the other hand, is still wrapped up in the big picture. He's talking about where they'll live, the kind of life they'll build together, what their future is supposed to look like. On paper, it's perfect, but in reality, Jeremiah keeps missing the moments where Belly needs him most, not because he's cruel or careless, but because he assumes she's fine. He doesn't realize that while he's talking about tomorrow, someone else is taking care of her today. One of the most telling moments comes when Belly faces a problem she can't quite fix on her own. It's small, the kind of thing most people wouldn't think twice about, but for her, it's important. She's struggling, trying to figure it out without making a fuss. And before she even thinks to ask, Conrad steps in, no questions. No hesitation, just there, and Belly looks at him with this mix of relief and confusion. Like she's trying to remember why it's not supposed to be him doing this for her. That look says more than any confession ever could, and it's not just Belly who's feeling the tension. You can see the way Jeremiah's mood shifts when he walks in on one of those moments. It's not an argument, not yet, but you can feel the heat under the surface, that tight smile. That pause before he speaks, like he's trying to convince himself it doesn't matter, but deep down, Jeremiah knows what it means when someone else knows your person better than you do. That's the kind of thing that can start cracks in even the strongest relationships still. Belly keeps telling herself that she's made her choice, that she loves Jeremiah and that's all that matters. And maybe that's true, or maybe it's just what she wants to be true. Because if she lets herself really think about Conrad, about the way he still shows up for her even when it hurts, she knows the questions will start. The what-ifs will come back, louder than ever, and once those thoughts get in, they're impossible to silence. By the middle of this episode, we're watching Belly try to hold to truths at the same time, that Jeremiah is her future, and that Conrad still feels like home. It's not a choice she can make in a single moment. But every interaction is pushing her closer to having to decide, and the longer she waits, the more she risks losing both of them because Jeremiah's patience has limits and Conrad's heart can only take so much. The tension builds so quietly you almost don't notice it at first, but by now, it's impossible to ignore. Every glance, every pause in the conversation, every time Jeremiah's name is spoken in a different tone than Conrad's. It's all leading somewhere, and that somewhere is going to hurt, not just for Belly, but for everyone caught in this triangle, because love isn't just about choosing who you want. It's about living with what that choice costs, and in Episode 6, we start to see the bill come due. By this point in Episode 6, the air between Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah feels heavy, not because anyone has said something explosive, but because of all the things they haven't said. It's that unspoken tension that creeps into their movements, their voices, even the way they avoid each other's eyes when certain topics come up. And while Belly is doing everything she can to keep things light, her mind is somewhere else entirely. She's thinking about a conversation she hasn't had yet, one that she knows could change everything. Conrad isn't making it easy for her to forget. It's not that he's trying to sabotage anything, but his presence is constant. He's there in the moments she least expects, and each time, he leaves behind something she can't shake, a comment that makes her smile, a memory that pulls her back in time, a gesture that reminds her how safe she's always felt with him. And maybe that's the real danger, because safety doesn't usually come with as much longing. Jeremiah, meanwhile, is starting to sense that something is off, even if Belly swears nothing's wrong. He's not oblivious. He sees the way she tenses when Conrad's name comes up, the way her tone changes when she's talking to him versus about him, and for the first time, Jeremiah isn't just brushing it off. You can see it in the way he watches her when she thinks he's not looking, searching for signs, trying to figure out if she's slipping away. One moment in particular pushes this undercurrent closer to the surface. The three of them are in the same space, and it's casual at first. Light conversation, easy laughter, but then there's this pause. This split second where Conrad and Belly exchange a look that says more than either of them would ever admit out loud. Jeremiah catches it. He doesn't say anything, but the shift in his expression is instant. The smile doesn't reach his eyes anymore, and from that point on, the room doesn't feel quite as light. Belly notices it too. She knows Jeremiah saw something, even if he's pretending he didn't. And now she's carrying the weight of two separate truths. What she feels in her heart when Conrad is around, and what she's promised Jeremiah. She keeps telling herself she can manage both, that she can keep those feelings separate. But the truth is slipping through in ways she can't control. It's in the way her voice softens when she says Conrad's name. It's in the way she hesitates when Jeremiah asks about their plans. Then comes a turning point, small, but significant. Belly finds herself alone with Conrad. And for a moment, it's almost like everything else fades out. There's no Jeremiah. No wedding plans, no future to consider, just the two of them, standing there in the kind of silence that feels more intimate than words. Conrad says something simple, but the way he says it, the way his eyes hold hers, makes it feel like a confession. Belly doesn't respond right away. She just stands there, caught between wanting to step closer and needing to pull away. And that's when she realizes how dangerous this is. Because it's one thing to remember the past, to miss what they had. It's another to feel it coming back to life right in front of her. Every instinct tells her to back away, to protect what she has with Jeremiah, but her heart isn't listening. And if she's not careful, she's going to end up exactly where she's been trying to avoid, in the middle of a storm she can't control. By the end of this section of the episode, nothing has been said outright, but everything has shifted. Jeremiah's smiles are tighter, Conrad's glances are longer, and Belly is starting to realize that no matter how much she tries to choose one path, the other one is still pulling her in. This isn't just about who she loves, it's about who she can't seem to let go of. And if episode 6 keeps building at this pace, it's only a matter of time before that truth comes crashing out into the open. The thing about love triangles is that they never really stay quiet for long. You can bury the feelings, hide the glances, pretend the tension isn't there, but sooner or later, something cracks, and in episode 6, you can feel that crack widening. Belly's trying her hardest to keep the peace, to make everything look effortless, but deep down she knows she's walking through quicksand. Every step forward with Jeremiah feels heavier, slower. Because Conrad is always there in the corner of her mind, pulling her back. Jeremiah isn't blind to it anymore. His patience, the easygoing charm he's always had, is starting to fray at the edges. You can see it in the little things, the way his laugh cuts off too quickly, how he changes the subject when Conrad's name comes up, how he suddenly needs to be the one standing closest to Belly. In a room, these aren't big moves yet, but they're the kind of changes that signal something brewing under the surface. Jeremiah is not just protecting his relationship anymore, he's defending it. And that means the clock is ticking for Conrad. This episode feels like a test he didn't ask for but can't avoid. He's caught between wanting to stay in Belly's life and needing to protect himself from the pain of watching her plan a future with his brother. But every time he tries to step back, something pulls him forward again, a look, a memory, or Belly just showing up when he least expects it. He tells himself it's better to keep his feelings buried, but there's a part of him that hopes. She notices anyway that maybe, just maybe, she'll remember what they had and wonder what it could still be. One scene brings all of this to a breaking point. It starts with something innocent, a conversation that's supposed to be about plans for the weekend. But in the middle of it, Belly lets something slip. It's small, maybe even unintentional, but it's enough for both Conrad and Jeremiah to catch it. She mentions a detail, a thought, that only someone deeply connected to Conrad would know. And the moment it leaves her mouth, she realizes it. The air changes instantly. Jeremiah's eyes narrow just slightly. Conrad goes still. Belly laughs it off, changes the subject, but the damage is done. From there, the energy shifts. Jeremiah becomes quieter, more watchful. He doesn't bring it up, but you can see the questions forming in his head. Meanwhile, Conrad keeps his distance for the rest of the day, but not in a way that feels cold. More like he's protecting her from himself. Belly is stuck in the middle, feeling like every word she says could tip the balance one way or the other. And no matter which way it tips, someone is going to get hurt. What makes this all so intense is that no one's actually fighting yet. There are no raised voices, no dramatic exits. It's all happening in the spaces between the words, the looks that last a second too long, the pauses in conversation, the way someone's tone changes when they think no one will notice. That's the kind of tension that doesn't just fade away, it builds slowly and steadily, until it has nowhere to go but out. By the end of this stretch of the episode, Belly is more unsettled than ever. She thought she could keep her heart steady, keep her promises, and move forward without looking back. But with every passing day, she's starting to question if she really made the right choice, or if she's just trying to convince herself she did. And when you start asking yourself those questions, it's only a matter of time before they demand answers. Episode 6 isn't about the explosion. Not yet. It's about the quiet moments right before, when everyone can feel it coming but no one wants to be the first to set it off. Belly's heart is the fuse, and both Conrad and Jeremiah are standing close enough to light it. The only question now is which one of them will strike the match first. By the time we hit this part of episode 6, the emotional tension is so thick it's almost suffocating. Everyone's still pretending things are fine, but it's that strained, brittle kind of fine where you know one wrong word could shatter it all. Belly is caught in the middle, and while she's trying to keep her head above water, every interaction is pulling her deeper into a situation she can't fully control. She's holding onto Jeremiah's hand, but her heart keeps glancing over its shoulder, and the thing about hearts is, they don't lie for long. Jeremiah's noticing more now. Even if he's not calling it out directly, he's watching Belly in ways he never used to, not in that soft, adoring way he once did, but in a searching, calculating way. He's paying attention to her pauses, the way her eyes shift when Conrad's name is mentioned, how quickly she answers certain questions. It's subtle, but there's a shift in him. Jeremiah is starting to guard himself, and that means a storm is on the horizon. Conrad, on the other hand, is in a dangerous space of his own. He's tried stepping back. He's tried staying out of the way, but every time Belly looks at him like she did years ago, it breaks his resolve. It's the little moments that undo him, when she laughs at something only the two of them understand, when she remembers a piece of their shared history without even thinking about it. He tells himself to let it go, but you can see in his eyes that he's not ready to. And the thing about feelings you're not ready to let go of is that they eventually find a way out. The pressure really spikes during a seemingly normal conversation between Belly and Jeremiah about their future. They're talking about plans, where they'll live, what life will look like, and for a moment, It feels steady, but then Jeremiah asks her something simple. Are you happy? Belly answers without hesitation, of course, but it's too quick, too polished. Jeremiah hears it, and though he doesn't press her, that single question hangs in the air long after the words are gone. It's the kind of question that lingers, that makes you look at everything differently. Belly feels it too. The second she says, of course. She knows she said it more to convince herself than to reassure Jeremiah, and later, when she's alone, the weight of that moment hits her. She thinks about Conrad, about all the ways he's been there for her without asking for anything in return. She thinks about how different things might feel if it were him she was making plans with. She hates herself a little for even thinking it, but the thought is there now. And it's not going anywhere, and as if the universe wants to make things harder. She runs into Conrad not long after. It's nothing planned, just another one of those chance encounters that keep happening, but this time something feels different. They don't talk about anything deep, but there's a quiet pull between them that neither of them can disguise. When they part ways, Belly feels this strange mix of relief and regret, relief that nothing happened, and regret that nothing happened. Meanwhile, Jeremiah can sense the shift even from a distance. He doesn't have proof of anything, but he doesn't need it. Love has a way of making you feel when something's changing, even if you can't see it yet. And right now, Jeremiah can feel it in his bones. Something between him and Belly is slipping, and he doesn't know how to stop it. By the end of this section of the episode, it's clear that we're past the point of just subtle glances and unspoken tension. The questions are growing louder in everyone's minds. Belly's wondering if she's where she's meant to be. Conrad's wondering how much longer he can stay quiet. And Jeremiah's wondering if he's already losing her. The answers aren't here yet, but the pieces are in place for something big to break open. And when it does, nothing between these three will ever be the same again. This part of episode 6 feels like the deep breath before the plunge, that quiet, still moment when you know the next step could change everything. Belly's trying to convince herself she can keep walking this fine line. But she's starting to realize the truth. Love triangles don't just fade away, they build. They twist, and eventually, they force you to make a choice you're not ready for. And right now, every heartbeat, every glance, every unspoken word between her and the Fisher brothers is pushing her closer to that moment. Conrad has settled into this dangerous rhythm, always close enough to catch her if she falls, but never so close that he pushes her away from Jeremiah outright. It's not a strategy. It's just who he is, but that quiet loyalty is exactly what's making Belly question herself. Because when you know someone would go to the ends of the earth for you, without asking for anything back, it's impossible not to wonder what life would look like with them instead. And even though she tells herself that wondering doesn't mean wavering, deep down she knows it does. Jeremiah can feel it too. He's watching her more closely now, not in the same easy, playful way as before, but in a way that almost feels like he's bracing himself. He notices when she zones out mid-conversation. He notices when her laughter comes a beat late. He notices when her phone lights up and she checks it a little too quickly. None of these things are damning on their own, but together, they paint a picture he doesn't want to admit he sees. And that quiet awareness is starting to change him. His voice gets sharper when Conrad's name comes up, his patience runs shorter when plans don't go perfectly. It's not that he's stopped loving her. It's that he's afraid she's already halfway gone. And Belly? She's caught in the middle of a storm she didn't mean to create. She keeps replaying certain moments in her head. The way Conrad's eyes softened when he handed her something she didn't even have to ask for. The way Jeremiah's hand tightened around hers when Conrad walked into the room. The way her own heart skipped in both of those moments, but for completely different reasons. That's the problem. Each brother gives her something she can't seem to live without. And she knows choosing one means losing the other forever. The last stretch of this episode doesn't bring any big fights or tearful confrontations. Instead, it leaves us with something more haunting, the realization that everyone already knows. On some level, what's coming. Belly knows she can't keep going like this. Conrad knows he can't keep holding back. Jeremiah knows he can't ignore what's right in front of him. And yet, no one says the words. They just carry them silently, like stones in their pockets, waiting for the day they have to lay them out on the table. And maybe that's what makes episode 6 so intense. It's not about the explosion. It's about standing in the room with the fuse, hearing the clock tick down, and pretending you don't know what it means. Because the truth is, once this blows, nothing will ever go back to the way it was. Not for Belly, not for Conrad, not for Jeremiah. And the scariest part? I don't think any of them are truly ready for that so as we head into the next chapter, remember this: sometimes the most life-changing moments aren't the loud, messy ones. They're the quiet decisions you make when no one's looking. They're the times you realize your heart has already chosen, long before your mind catches. up, and for Belly, that moment is coming faster than she thinks. The only question is, when it does, will she run toward it or turn away? If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Who do you think Belly's heart really belongs to? Is it Jeremiah, the safe and steady choice? Or Conrad, the love she can never quite let go of? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I know one thing for sure, whatever side you're on, this story is about to change everything we thought we knew. And trust me, you're not ready for what's next.